All right, over the next few videos, we're going to contrast the wisdom of God and the wisdom of this world. Now, the contrast is going to come to a head with the topic of the cross of Jesus Christ. There is no room in the quote-unquote wisdom of the world, in the philosophies of the world, which are apart from the revelation of God. Remember, Jesus said men love darkness rather than light. Because of our sin, we want to scurry off into darkness. And so we try to better our own lives. It's interesting. Paul's writing to those who are 50 miles from Athens, right? In the epicenter, in the cradle of what we would look back and call the birthplace of Western civilization. They are about 400 years removed from Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They're cataloging the world. They're trying to live the good life. And in that wisdom is not included the idea of being so hopelessly guilty that we need deity to humble himself into human flesh and die the death of a common criminal for us because we're not good. Okay, there's no room for that in the philosophies of men who scurry off into darkness. That is the lack of revelation of God. Read Romans chapter 1, verses 19 through 25 to see men know there's a creator, and yet we worship and serve the creature more than the creator because we don't want to admit some very difficult things to admit. Verse 17, it says, "For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it's the power of God." And so people need, it's interesting, it's ironic that there are those who would point to the cross and say foolish. They're pointing to the very cure for their condition, that is eternal death, right? They're dying. They're heading for eternal destruction. And the very thing that could save them from that, the very cure, they're pointing to and calling foolish. Okay? So the preaching of the cross is to be done without wisdom of words. There's no amount of dressing. There's no amount of appealing to human philosophy which will make the gospel palatable for people who don't want to admit they're a sinner. And we'll get into more of that next time.